For many years, I've shared my love of fashion and beauty with Today Show fans.
It is that time on Fridays.
It's Bobbie
Thomas's
Bring
time.
on Bobbie, I love that outfit.
During that time, I've also opened up my heart and my family, letting viewers in for some of my happiest and most personal moments.
That little baby happens to belong to the one, the only Bobbie Thomas.
And her husband, Michael.
Bobbie.
Such a precious baby.
But nothing could have prepared me for the devastating loss of my beloved husband, Michael, in 2020.
I don't need to be told there was a silver lining or a bigger reason. There isn't. And that is okay for me to feel.
Now, my beautiful son Miles and I are about to embark on our 3rd year without him. The pain is still precious, and I hold on to the memories as closely as I can. If I've learned anything, it's that grief is universal. I've been blessed to have 3 incredible women, Kimberly Schlapman, Kathie Lee Gifford, and Lynn Bomar Harless, each in their own stages of loss, to shower me with love and wisdom when I needed it most. With open hearts, they've agreed to sit down with me and share our deeply personal conversations with the hope that others will feel less alone.
I honestly don't have the words to express the gratitude I have for the 3 of you being in the same room with me. And after experiencing this, I just feel like I woke up to an entirely new world of what's around. And for the better in a lot of ways, although that is so tragic and I wouldn't want anyone to feel this way, I just feel like I saw people, so many people. And despite that, I was so lonely. And the 3 of you saw me. I almost feel guilty if you're watching at home to have all of this support, but I think that's why I wanted to connect and talk about love and loss, because you all have so much to offer and it shouldn't be just me. I want everyone to hear from you all because you've been magic.
In 2016, Lynn's husband, Paul Harless, was diagnosed with dementia.
And I don't think a lot of people think about caretakers when they are in the trenches and you know that he's not here in the way you have fully been with him, but he's here. How do you do that every day?
I mean, he's my soulmate, first of all. And so, you know, you take all the little moments that you can get. He knows everything that's going on around him. He just has, you know, he doesn't speak anymore very often. But, you know, you take what you can get.
And here you are talking about him again. How do you manage through the day?
But that is how I manage, though, because he's my everything.
What do you want other people to know about the situation you're in?
Some days are really easy to get up and go about your business, and you'll be just fine, and some little thing triggers your emotions. Just visit the people you love, and even if you just sit next to them, just hold their hand and tell them that you love them, because they hear you, they're in there.
Kathie Lee Gifford lost her husband Frank in 2015.
And Kathie, I am one of just an entire population that watched you so gracefully share with us losing Frank. You inspire people with the small things you say sometimes, where you would always say, if there's a pulse, there's a purpose.
If I have a pulse, I have a purpose.
Yeah. And I always kept that close. If I have a pulse, there's a purpose, which really plays a bigger role in kind of this conversation today. But also to get through and to see through things. And that was one of my favorite pieces of advice as a young woman, you know, looking up to someone who has done it all.
You know, everybody's, I'm so sorry you lost your husband. And I remember saying, I didn't lose him. I know right where he is and who he's with. But that's after he was gone, I knew it. But there were 10 years while Frank was still on this earth that I understand the losing of him. Because we knew he had brain damage. But we didn't know the extent of it. We knew he died of a massive heart attack. And the irony of that is he'd had his best medical report the week before. He came in from seeing the doctor and says, well, you're stuck with me. So you never know. Life is so fragile. We were getting ready for church that morning. It was Hoda's birthday. August 9th, I'll never forget. And and I came down to go to church with him, and he was gone. But I remember, it dawned on me that a couple of months before, sitting at that same table in our sunroom, you've been there, I remember the Lord speaking to me, and he said, go over to Frank. I was sitting next to him. He says, get up and go over and kiss him the way you used to kiss him. And I went, that's kind of strange. But I did. I went over and I leaned over him and I kissed him like I hadn't kissed him in years. Because I didn't know if he was, that had stopped being a part of our life. And the look on his face like, wow. And he goes, where'd that come from? And he goes, I remember that.
Oh, wow.
And I felt so bad that I hadn't been giving him that all along.
And everybody's always saying, oh, I know you're so tired. Why don't you go sleep in the other room? I'm like, no, I can't. We've been sleeping there for 40 years, like I said.
That's my place.
And, yes, and I put my hand on him, and he grabs my hand. And sometimes I have to say, you're going to break my fingers. Like, can you not squeeze my hand so tight?
See, he's literally holding on for dear life.
Yes. But that touch there, I'm like, I can't. I can't sleep somewhere else. I have to sleep there next to him. Yeah.
Well, eventually you will be sleeping alone, and you know that.
I do.
And you'll never regret that you kissed him.
Yep, never will.
That you never stopped holding him
regrets.
and touching, and
you
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but Kathie, I don't think that you should worry that you should have done it all along, because
I didn't know to.
That kiss, he needed that day. That's when he needed it, and you showered it, you flooded him with your love that day, and that's beautiful. That was a moment.
In Little Big Town's Kimberly Schlapman, who lost her first husband, Stephen Rhodes, to a heart attack in 2005. He was 41.
It's impossible in the beginning of grief to believe that you can move forward. It's impossible. People said to me, everything's going to be fine. You're going to love again. You're going to have babies. You're going to make it. I didn't believe it, and I did not want to believe it.
Did it upset you when they would say it?
Yes. Especially
people don't know what to say.
Yeah.
No, I feel bad. I get angry.
They're trying to encourage you, but it's not what you want to hear.
No,
then.
they're just trying to love on you.
You just want to hear, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, and I understand. And I want to say to people, please love on people in your situation, but don't tell them to move on, because it's impossible. Like right now, you don't even believe it. It's possible.
Yeah, still I don't.
No,
until she looks at you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I
it's a very confusing space. I feel like I'm two people at the same time.
Yes.
Because there's a part of me that gets angry when they think, there's so many other people out there, and you're like, but I want him. Right. He was who I chose.
Right. Yeah. No, but he was my person.
He was my person.
He was the love of your life, and then somebody said to me, so far.
Oh.
And by that time, my husband had been gone for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that was different. I'm praying for love to find you, because we don't find love. Love finds us, I think.
I remember when my husband first passed, I just wanted him to touch me. And I thought, how can I move on without never feeling his touch again? And that's when my grief counselor said, go get some massages, because literally when we touch skin to skin, it releases oxytocin in our brain. It's chemical, and we need it. And I think that, like, people said to me, are you going to move out of your house? And I was like, well, I don't know. People push you because they want the best for you. Mm-hmm. So they push you to move on. And I decided, I'll move out of my house when I feel like it's no longer my haven. It was my haven. Yes. It was spiritual for me, and I needed to be there. But I think you do it day to day. You put one step in front of the other, and you have the most beautiful gift in your son. Yes. And you worry about being a good example. You are a beautiful example.
Yes,
you are living your life so beautifully, and he sees that, and he knows how much you love him, and that he is everything to you, everything. So when I lost Steve, first of all, I married two Steves. My first one was Steve, and my second was Steve. when I
At
lost
least you know how to spell it.
Yeah. My grief counselor was like, well, at least you won't have any trouble when you don't know what word to say.
You won't scream out anybody else's name.
Yeah, won't say anybody else's name.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so the way it happened for me, I thought I would never love again. When I was married to my Steve the first time, we were married for 14 years. And for about 12 of those years, I desperately wanted a baby, and it never happened. And when he was gone, I was almost mad at God that he hadn't given me a child from this man he was my soulmate, that I so desperately loved. And because I knew that I could see that one day there would be hope, and I believed that God was going to take care of me, even though I was mad at him, and that's okay because he knows that.
He can take it.
He can take it.
Do.
Yeah, that's right. He can take it. So, how it happened for me as I began to love again, my now Steve, he was. We were on the road together. He was our stage manager on a tour. And this is when I was married before. And we were all just good friends. It was a small tour. We were all on the bus together all the time. We were just good buddies. And so after my husband passed, all my friends were calling me. You know, they just keep calling and making sure you're okay. And I just make a joke that my Steve now never stopped calling me. And he had lost his best friend at the time. So we had that in common. We bonded over that, and we talked a lot just as friends about grief and about loss. He just pulled me out of the deepest, darkest, blackest hole, and I began to love again. Now there was a lot of time that passed, but I began to love again. And we finally got married, and on our honeymoon, after all those years of trying to have a baby before, we got pregnant on our honeymoon.
Oh, wow.
And I know without a shadow of a doubt that my Steve went to God and he said, please give this woman as my gift what she's always wanted, and let her be a mama. And so my Daisy happened on our honeymoon. Wow. And I pulled out this ring this morning from my keepsake box. This is my first Steve's ring, and it's a ruby, and it was passed down in his family. It's beautiful. Isn't it precious? I had to tape it on the back.
Bigger than you.
Yeah, bigger than me. And but this is my Daisy's birthstone, and it's just like those little gifts that God gives us. It's just that little sprinkling of. I planned that too. I knew that was going to happen too.
God winks.
God winks. God winks. Yes, Kathie Lee Gifford. God winks. Yes. But also, I wanted to say, Bobbie, that in that second year, it's incredibly painful because, not intentionally, but everybody kind of forgets. Everybody has loved on you and try to lift you up and try to make sure you're okay because they love you so much. But then their life goes on. They don't forget.
Their lives get busy.
Their lives get busy, and they move on to the next thing. But your world has still stopped. It's still not moving.
Yeah, when your loss happens, that's not the end of your loss. That's the beginning.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And
it
that's
feels like it's the end of your life.
Yes.
But, yes. Yeah. Yes. Also, Miss Lynn, my mother has Parkinson's, and
my dad had that.
She's beginning to really suffer. I understand your grief too. Grief can happen before we really think it can.
Absolutely. My son was opening a new restaurant downtown, and they had the soft opening, and they had all our people that were flying in from everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was dressed, and I was looking for my shoes to put my shoes on, and I walked into the closet, and there was Paul's clothes hanging there. Yeah. And I stood there and held on to his clothes and cried, and I couldn't go to the restaurant open because I said all night long, everybody I see, first thing they're going to say is, how's Paul? How's Paul? How's Paul? How's Paul? It's like, I can't do it tonight. Yeah. You know, some days you can do it, and some days you just can't.
And I'm sure everybody understood.
And everybody has the the best intentions, but
Yes.
some days you just can't do it.
can't
You
do
know?
it.
Get it together.
Can't
That's
take it.
okay,
Yeah.
Bobbie.
It's okay.
We're just human.
Yep.
Yes, there's a beautiful quote. It's from Bill W. He created Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. And his quote is, "Lord, let us laugh again, but please don't ever let us forget how we cried." And as I sit here fully restored with babies that I always dreamed of and a marriage that I always forever wanted, I'm never going to forget laying in my closet floor, spent and completely immobile because I was looking at my husband's clothes. I'm never, ever, ever going to forget that. And I think that brings purpose to our loss, because then we can come to you and say, you are going to make it. There is love out there. There is life out there. And you are going to make it.
I am better for having my love with Michael. I am better for knowing magical souls like you. And I am better for all of those people at home who were so selfless and just sending a note and seeing me and sharing, you know, such personal, vulnerable stories about their loss.
And Bobbie, your tears are giving them hope. It didn't happen yesterday. It happened 2 years ago. And you're still lonely and sad. And your tears, it's okay. It's beautiful that you're crying, because your tears are giving them hope.
And the Bible
hope.
says that God collects every one of our tears in a bottle. Nothing's wasted. There are no crumbs on God's table. Everything is for a purpose. See, in Jeremiah 29:11, the word says, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, to prosper you and not to harm you." This is the best part: to give you a future and a hope.
Yes.
That's His promise to us all, and He's faithful.
Yeah.
He's faithful.
It's just so weird. All I want to do and all I focus on, to the detriment of myself sometimes, is I just want to make people feel better. And grief is such a conundrum because you can't do anything. People feel helpless, and I feel helpless because it's hard. When people say they want to help you, you don't know how to let them help.
And very few people look beautiful when they cry, but you do.
You look so beautiful, Bobbie.
It's really disgusting.
Stop.
Here's an ad for waterproof mascara.
I could just,
Whatever.
On the next Bobbie's Best for Less.
Yeah.
No, I feel pretty lucky to have been surrounded by powerful forces in my life, you know, behind the scenes, in front of the camera. I mean, Kathie, you stood right next to me on some of the toughest days. I was throwing up minutes before live television when I was going through IVF, and she's like, just hold the hair.
Also, that's another part of your story that you so graciously shared. And you have been so beautiful at sharing your story, Bobbie.
Listen, what I hope, whether it was talking about IVF or sharing that Michael had a stroke, then I thought, why am I not just honest? You know, because life isn't perfect. You know, the funny thing about talking about the stroke with Michael, I felt like I failed and I let people down when he passed, because he actually rehabbed and was ready to return to work. And then to have such a random bacterial infection that so quickly, just like you said, Frank's like, this is the best, you know, doctor's visit ever. And Michael was arguing about how he was getting back to work and what we were going to do. And you just never know, you know, what's thrown at you.
The bottom line is you have to find your joy. And we all, I think all of us can say we've all found joy in you and brought joy to all of our lives. So
does it bother you when people say, you know, do you want to start seeing? They want to set you up.
Yeah.
Because remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, does it? Okay.
Did I hit a nerve?
No, it's okay. It's almost.
No, I'm not suggesting anybody in particular. I'm just saying I knew that I wasn't ready. I didn't want to meet anybody.
I don't think I expected the volume of it. I think also in some ways, you know, Michael dying young, there is this sort of expectation of, oh my gosh, you're so young. And it just, like I said, I got so angry. It was so painful because he is who I chose. I don't want anybody else.
And you think about the betrayal, not only to him, but to Miles and his family. Like, I'm a loyal person to my core. And so there's a part of me that feels like, how do you make that space? But then it's inevitable. You sit back, and I've spent a lot of nights at home alone parenting solo.
Yeah.
And there isn't anyone to call. It's just us. And so Miles even has said, you know, Mom, it's kind of lonely, but he's impossible to replace.
I know.
And it doesn't feel real.
And you're
But
not
you don't need to
that's
replace
so
him.
important to
Yeah.
say.
You're not replacing him.
He cannot be replaced.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
The more the merrier.
You know,
And the person, if he comes along, will understand that more than anyone. He won't try to replace him.
absolutely. My Steve now, he says, the reason I have you is because of this other Steve. I'm just loving you a different way and a new way, and I will never try to replace him. And that, if it's the right man, that will
That's
be
a
his
key.
philosophy.
Yeah, that's a sign.
Yes.
When did you feel that you might be open to that?
For me, it was being able to work out my grief and my sorrow creatively. So I wrote a script. I wrote the movie Then Came You for my friend Craig Ferguson. And there's a line in it that I thought the Lord gave to me because it was too good. She's holding her husband's ashes in a candy box. And she says, I love you, Fred, and I always will. But I've got to make new memories or the old ones are going to kill me. And I'm not ready to die. Not yet. And I think that is something we can be proactive about. You'll know when you're ready just to go to willing to get out of the house. And then all of a sudden I found out, okay, I'm ready to go out with a group of friends, a group of girlfriends. I can laugh again with them, and then more and more, you start to meet people. You're not going to meet people sitting behind your door. You might meet them at the Today Show. You might meet them, but if you're going to lock yourself in, it's kind of hard to expect someone to have a key to get in there.
Yes.
So don't lock yourself away. Open yourself to the possibility of it.
I was still wearing my wedding rings, which...
By the way.
Yep.
I
You
do
wear
too.
that.
It's so hard.
Yes.
Paul can't wear his ring anymore, so I wear his
you
ring.
got it. That's precious.
I wear
Precious.
Michael's. It's Michael's band and my band.
Yeah, that's what I did. I wore his right behind mine.
Yeah.
And yeah, it totally snuck up on me out of the blue.
How did you know you were ready? I mean, it snuck up on you, but what advice could you
I
give?
started getting the butterflies, the feeling, and I was like, Lord, what is that?
Yeah.
Is that what I think it is?
Do I want him to kiss me?
Do I?
Is that
what am I doing? I haven't kissed another man in decades.
Oh, yeah. It's a wonderful feeling.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, you
it's
think,
wonderful.
I'm not dead. I'm not. I really do have a pulse.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I did with my wedding ring. I wore it for 1 year. And then it made me sad to look at it. Then I moved it to this finger. And then I put it on Cassidy's charm bracelet. That we've been putting things on her charm bracelet since the day she was born. So I did. And then when she got married to her husband, Ben, we took it off her charm bracelet, and it's Ben's wedding ring now. So
That's really special.
Frank's wedding ring is on my daughter's husband's.
That's cool.
And because he lives on.
Yeah, of course.
And your Steve lives on.
Yes.
And one day your Paul will live on. And Michael lives on, and Miles. It's not over.
Yeah.
And you're not moving on. You're moving forward. You don't move on.
Well,
You're not leaving anything behind. You're taking it all with you.
Keep all the gorgeous memories. Just make new ones.
Yes.
it's like I put a backpack on that day, and in a lot of ways I didn't even notice I did because I was in such shock and I was so busy.
Yeah.
There are days that it's no big deal and I can shove more in the backpack, and there are days that I have to just take it off.
Take the pack off.
I'm like, I can't carry a backpack today.
Well,
It's
that's
too
what friends are
much.
for. They'll carry the pack for you.
And sometimes it's okay if today you just can't.
Today,
just can't.
You
Just can't.
You just
Can't
can't.
do it. Can't do
You just can't get out of your pajamas.
I just can't.
Can't do it today.
And it's normal. It's totally normal. It's grief.
I hope more people are comfortable seeing it and talking about it, because I just never really realized how shoved away it was in the closet, or, lipstick was put over it, or a Band-Aid. And we really aren't comfortable with grief. No. We want, because I think human nature, you want people to feel better and you want them to be happy, and you come at it with love. But I don't know, I've really uncovered a whole nother layer I wasn't aware of.
And you will for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. There are seasons in life, and each one of them is important. Keep your heart open, open to learning from each season, because there is blessing to be found. Yes. Great blessing.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.